The Wedding by the Lake Part 1. The Invitation ***. The evening air smelled faintly of lilac and rain when Emily Carter opened her mailbox. There, among bills and postcards, lay a cream-colored envelope tied with a silver ribbon. Her name was written in careful cursive, Emily Grace Carter. She smiled before she even opened it. She knew whose handwriting it was. Inside was an elegant wedding invitation. You are cordially invited to the wedding of Olivia Munro and Daniel Hayes, to be held on the 14th of June, at Willow Lake, Vermont. For a moment, Emily stood still, her fingers brushing the soft paper, as if it carried warmth from a distant memory. Olivia Munro, her best friend from college. They hadn't seen each other in almost 5 years. The night outside was peaceful. The sound of crickets whispered through the open window, and the last glow of sunset turned the horizon gold. Emily set the invitation on her desk and stared at it. A lake wedding, that was so very Olivia, athletic and impossibly beautiful. She poured herself a cup of tea and leaned against the kitchen counter. For years, Emily had been living alone in her little apartment in Boston, surrounded by books, framed photos, and the quiet hum of city life. Her days were spent writing. She worked as a copywriter for a lifestyle magazine, but nights were when her thoughts wandered. And tonight, they wandered back to her college days. 2 dorm rooms scented with vanilla candles, to laughter that lasted past midnight, to a boy named Daniel Hayes. Daniel had been Olivia's boyfriend, kind, funny, the type who played guitar under the maple tree near the library. Emily never told anyone that she used to wait for those songs, that she secretly fell a little in love with his voice. It was one of those quiet loves, the kind that never asks to be returned, the kind that stays hidden between moments and memories. She never told Olivia. She never told anyone, and now he was getting married to her best friend. It felt right and wrong at the same time. That night, rain began to fall, softly at first, then steadily, drumming against the window like a lullaby. Emily climbed into bed, listening to the sound. The city faded into a blur of light and sound, and sleep came gently, carrying her back to a time when everything was simpler. She dreamt of Willow Lake, of summer sunlight, reflecting off the water, of Olivia's laughter echoing across the shore, of Daniel strumming his guitar while she watched from a distance. When she woke up the next morning, the invitation was still there on her desk, waiting like a message from fate. The decision a week later. Emily packed her suitcase. She hadn't been to Vermont in years, but she could almost picture it. The tall pine trees, the calm lake, the old inn by the water where she and Olivia once promised to grow old and fabulous together. The drive took nearly 5 hours. She played old country songs along the way, songs that used to make her feel young again. As she reached the outskirts of Willow Creek, the landscape turned soft and green, rolling hills, quiet roads, and fields dotted with wildflowers. By the time she reached the lake, it was late afternoon. The sunlight shimmered on the water like liquid gold, and the wedding decorations were already being set up. White tents, rows of wooden chairs, and a floral arch facing the lake. Everything looked magical, the kind of wedding people dream about. Emily checked into the inn nearby. Asterisk, the lobby smelled of cedar and cinnamon, and a small fire burned in the fireplace. Asterisk, she signed her name in the guest book and smiled at the old lady behind the counter. Asterisk, wedding guest. The lady asked warmly. Asterisk, yes, Emily said softly. An old friend of the bride. Asterisk, ah, the woman smiled. They say it'll be quite a celebration. Willow Lake always brings out the magic in people. Magic. Emily liked that word. Asterisk, she wondered if magic still existed, if love still felt the same as it used to. The rehearsal dinner was held that evening by the lake. Strings of fairy lights hung from the trees, and soft music floated through the air. Guests laughed and mingled with champagne glasses in hand. Emily spotted Olivia. From across the lawn, radiant, glowing, wrapped in a light blue dress that matched the lake. When Olivia saw her, she gasped, then ran straight into her arms. Greater than, Emmy, I can't believe you came. Asterisk, of course I did, Emily said, smiling. I wouldn't miss it for the world. Asterisk, for a moment, it felt like nothing had changed. Asterisk, but then, just over Olivia's shoulder, Emily saw Daniel. Asterisk, he looked almost the same, just older, calmer, with that same easy smile. Asterisk, when he walked over, her heart did a quiet, familiar ache. Asterisk, greater than Emily, he said softly. It's been a long time. Too long, she replied. They shook hands, polite, careful, as if the past were a fragile thing that could break with one wrong word. Dinner was served by the lake, with candles flickering in glass jars. Asterisk, laughter filled the air, and the sound of the water lapping at the shore made everything feel timeless. Asterisk. Emily listened as Olivia talked about wedding plans, the vows, the music, the dance under the stars. Asterisk, and all the while, Daniel's voice drifted through the evening like a song she couldn't forget. Asterisk, when the night ended, Emily walked alone along the water's edge. Asterisk, the moon hung low, reflected in the lake like a mirror. Asterisk, she took a deep breath of the cool air and whispered to herself. Asterisk, you're just here to celebrate, Emily. Nothing more. Asterisk, but deep down, she knew some stories never really end. They just sleep quietly inside you, waiting to be remembered. Asterisk, that night. In her room at the inn, she left the window open. The wind carried the scent of pine and rain. As she drifted to sleep, she heard distant laughter, soft music, and maybe, just maybe, the faint echo of a guitar by the lake. Asterisk, it sounded like the past, singing her to sleep. The Wedding by the Lake Part 2. Chunk 1. Asterisk, Emily woke to the soft light spilling through the lace curtains, the morning sun casting a golden glow across the wooden floor. For a moment, she lay still, savoring the quiet, the distant hum of birds, and the gentle rustle of leaves outside. Today was not an ordinary morning. It carried a hint of anticipation, a feeling that seemed to settle in her chest with every heartbeat. Asterisk, she slid out of bed carefully, the sheets slipping off her shoulders, and padded barefoot to the window. The lake below shimmered with the first light of dawn, the mist rising in delicate wisps from its surface. Across the veranda, she could see a few early risers, staff preparing breakfast, and the soft clatter of silverware. Emily took a deep breath, filling her lungs with the crisp, slightly floral air that carried the scent of water and earth. Asterisk, dressing quickly. She chose a pale blue dress that complemented her eyes and mirrored the morning sky. Her hair fell in loose waves around her shoulders, catching the sunlight with every subtle movement. She paused for a moment, glancing at the mirror. Her reflection showed a mix of nervousness and excitement, a perfect blend for the day ahead. Descending the staircase, Emily noticed the quiet elegance of the inn. The polished wooden floors gleamed in the morning light, and small vases of fresh flowers dotted every corner, releasing soft, sweet scents. The lobby was empty, save for the gentle breeze that came through the open doors. She felt a shiver, not from cold, but from the feeling of possibility, as if the day itself had something magical in store. When she stepped onto the veranda, her eyes widened. The lake lay like a sheet of glass, reflecting the sky in soft pinks and golds. Mist hovered over the water, giving the scene a dreamlike quality. Guests were beginning to gather, chatting quietly among themselves, their laughter light and airy. Emily's heart quickened as she scanned the crowd, finally spotting James. He was speaking with a few early arrivals, his posture relaxed but attentive. When he noticed her, his eyes lit up with recognition, and he gave her a small, encouraging nod. Nearby, a table held a simple vase of wildflowers, the colors vivid against the polished wood. Their scent mingled with the fresh morning air, and Emily inhaled deeply, feeling grounded yet exhilarated. She walked slowly, savoring each step as if the moment could last forever. Each face she passed greeted her warmly, their smiles gentle, carrying the quiet joy of the morning. James approached her then, his expression a mixture of nervousness and happiness. "Good morning," he said softly. His voice was calm, yet it carried a warmth that made Emily's heart skip. "Morning," she replied, smiling. "It looks perfect out here." He glanced at the lake, then back at her. "It does, and it feels right, doesn't it?" Emily nodded. She had spent many mornings here before, but none had felt like this. The air seemed charged with quiet excitement, a gentle tension that wrapped around everything. She could hear the faint splashes from the lake as a few early swimmers enjoyed the calm water. Their laughter was soft, blending seamlessly with the natural melody of the morning. Together, they walked along the veranda, greeting guests who had arrived early. Children ran lightly across the wooden planks, their giggles floating up like delicate chimes. Elderly couples strolled slowly, holding hands, their faces serene and content. Every detail seemed touched by the magic of anticipation, the way the light caught on the water, the fragrance of flowers, the soft rustling of the trees. A small orchestra was setting up nearby, tuning their instruments for the day's music. The gentle notes of violins and a cello began to drift across the lake, mingling with the sounds of nature. Emily felt a sense of calm wash over her. It was a beautiful symphony of life, both human and natural, and she was at the center of it. James took her hand lightly, squeezing it gently. "Are you ready?" he asked, a playful glimmer in his eyes. For what?" she teased, though her own lips curved into a nervous smile. For everything today. For the start of our life together." His words were simple, yet they carried weight, filling the space between them with a quiet intensity. Emily's gaze drifted back to the lake. I think I'm ready, she said softly. I've been ready for a long time, even if I didn't know it. The Wedding by the Lake. Part 3, Chunk 1. The morning sun had risen higher now, casting a warm golden glow across the lake. Emily lingered on the veranda, letting the gentle breeze play with the strands of her hair. The air smelled of dew-kissed flowers, fresh grass, and the subtle scent of the lake's water. She could hear soft laughter from the nearby gardens, where guests had begun exploring the sprawling in-grounds, taking in the serene beauty of the place. James appeared beside her, holding 2 cups of steaming tea. I thought you might like this, he said, handing her a cup. The warmth seeped into her hands, and she inhaled the comforting aroma. Thank you, she murmured, her eyes meeting his. For a brief moment, the noise of the world seemed to fade, leaving only the quiet intimacy between them. Emily took a slow sip, savoring the gentle bitterness of the tea, mingling with the faint sweetness of honey. They walked down a small path leading from the veranda toward the lake's edge. The wooden dock stretched into the water like a narrow bridge, slightly damp from the morning mist. Birds flitted among the trees, their songs blending with the soft lapping of water against the shore. Emily's fingers brushed the rough wooden railing, grounding her in the moment, as if touching the dock connected her more deeply to the beauty surrounding them. Near the edge of the dock, a few swans glided gracefully across the lake, leaving gentle ripples behind them. Emily watched their elegant movements, feeling a sense of calm wash over her. The world here seemed paused, suspended between the present and a dream. She felt as if she could linger here forever, letting the serenity seep into her very soul. James glanced at her, noticing the soft smile on her lips. It's beautiful, isn't it? He asked. Yes, Emily whispered, her voice barely audible over the gentle breeze. It feels perfect. They lingered a moment longer, watching the swans disappear into the distance, the ripples fading slowly behind them. Emily felt her heart lighten, as if all the worries of the past had dissolved in the soft sunlight and gentle sound of water. Nearby, a small path led into a shaded grove of trees. The leaves formed a delicate canopy overhead, filtering the light into dappled patterns on the ground. The air here was cooler, carrying the scent of damp earth and wildflowers. Emily followed James along the path, stepping lightly to avoid disturbing the soft carpet of fallen leaves. A gentle hum of conversation reached them as other guests explored the grove, discovering hidden benches and quiet nooks. The soft chatter, mingled with birdsong, created a tranquil melody that filled Emily with warmth. She felt a deep sense of belonging here, as if the lake and the trees and the soft sunlight were all welcoming her into a larger, gentler world. Chunk 2 *. As they continued walking, Emily noticed a small wooden gazebo tucked beside a clump of willow trees. Its roof was covered in delicate vines, and the wooden railings were worn smooth from years of use. A few lanterns hung from the eaves, their glass glinting softly in the morning light. She turned to James, her eyes wide with wonder. This is amazing, she said softly. He smiled, taking her hand. I thought you might like it. A little quiet corner, just for us. Inside the gazebo, the air felt cooler, shaded from the sun, and the faint scent of nearby flowers mixed with the earthy aroma of wood. Emily sank onto the bench, her hands resting lightly on her lap. James sat beside her, close but careful to leave a small space, as if respecting the quiet intimacy of the moment. For a while, they simply sat, listening to the soft rustle of leaves and the distant hum of the lake. The world outside seemed to fade, leaving only the gentle rhythm of nature and the faint echo of life unfolding around them. Emily's mind wandered, reflecting on the journey that had brought them here. To this serene place filled with sunlight, water, and quiet joy. A gentle breeze stirred the willow branches, sending delicate shadows dancing across the wooden floor. Emily reached out, letting her fingers trace the soft patterns, feeling connected to the moment, the place, and the life surrounding her. James spoke then, his voice low and steady. "It's strange, isn't it? How calm everything feels. Like the world has paused for us." Emily nodded. "It's perfect. I could stay here forever and never get tired of it." They watched as a small family of ducks paddled across the water, the little ripples spreading outward in gentle waves. Children's laughter echoed from the far end of the garden, blending seamlessly with the soft rustle of wind through the trees. Every sound, every movement, seemed part of a delicate harmony that Emily had never fully noticed until now. James reached over, brushing a stray strand of hair from her face. "You look happy," he said softly. Emily smiled, leaning slightly into his touch. "I am," she whispered. "I've never felt more at peace." The gazebo became their quiet sanctuary for a while, a small island of calm amid the gentle excitement of the day. Birds chirped from hidden branches, and the sunlight filtered through the leaves in delicate beams, touching their faces with soft warmth. Emily felt a sense of timelessness, as if the moment existed outside of ordinary life, suspended in a gentle, perfect stillness. Chunk 3 outside the gazebo. The gardens stretched like a living painting. Flowers bloomed in vibrant colors, their petals catching sunlight and shimmering like tiny jewels. Paths wound through the greenery, lined with smooth stones and dotted with benches where guests paused to take in the scenery. Emily and James wandered slowly, savoring each view, each subtle detail of nature's artistry. At the edge of the garden, a small stone bridge arched over a narrow stream. Water trickled beneath it, clear and cool, reflecting the sky above. Emily stopped midway, leaning lightly on the railing, watching as tiny fish darted beneath the surface. The gentle sound of flowing water was soothing, blending with the distant laughter and soft music drifting across the lake. James joined her, standing quietly at her side. "It feels like everything is alive here," he said. Emily nodded, her eyes scanning the sparkling water, the colorful flowers, and the tall trees swaying in the breeze. "It does," she agreed. "Every little detail. It's like it's been waiting for this moment." They continued along the path, discovering small nooks filled with benches and statues, each one seemingly placed to encourage quiet reflection. The gentle warmth of the sun on their skin, the soft rustle of leaves. and the distant melody of nature created a sense of harmony that touched Emily deeply. Asterisk, a few guests passed by, greeting them with soft smiles, their faces serene and relaxed. Emily realized that everyone around seemed to share the same calm, the same quiet joy that filled her heart. The day unfolded like a gentle story, each moment flowing into the next with effortless grace. Asterisk, near the water's edge, a small rowboat was tied to a wooden post. Its paint was slightly worn, but it glistened in the sunlight. Emily's eyes sparkled. "Shall we?" she asked playfully, glancing at James. Asterisk, he grinned. "Absolutely." Asterisk, they stepped into the boat together, the gentle rocking sending soft ripples across the lake. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of water and wildflowers. Emily leaned back, letting the boat drift slowly, her eyes following the reflections of clouds on the lake's surface. Asterisk, time seemed to slow, and with every ripple, every soft sound of nature, Emily felt lighter. She closed her eyes briefly, savoring the gentle rocking, the warmth of the sun, and the presence of James beside her. In that quiet, perfect moment, she felt as though the world itself was holding its breath, honoring the serenity of the morning. Part 4, CapCut Voice Ready Version Line 1. Autumn had come to Boston. Asterisk, line 2. The air smelled of fallen leaves. Asterisk, line 3. Maple trees glowed red and gold. Asterisk, line 4. Leaves whispered against Emily's window. Asterisk, line 5. 4 months had passed since Olivia's wedding. Asterisk, line 6. 4 months since. Willow Lake. The laughter. The vows. Line 7. Life had returned to its rhythm. Line 8. Emily wrote for her magazine, met friends, and walked along the river. Asterisk, line 9. Sometimes she played old songs. Daniel once sang. Asterisk, line 10. One Tuesday morning, she found an envelope under her door. Line 11. The handwriting stopped her cold. Line 12. Curving. Graceful, unmistakably Olivia's. Asterisk, line 13. Her heart raced. She tore it open. Line 14. Inside was a small silver key. Line 15. Emily remembered the old cabin at Willow Lake. Asterisk, line 16. The porch swing. The tiny windows. The pine-scented air. Asterisk, line 17. 2 days later, Emily drove through Vermont. Asterisk, line 18. Mist hovered between the trees, soft and white. Line 19. The highway stretched through forests ablaze with color. Line 20. The cabin stood as she remembered, a little older, but familiar. Line 21. She tried the key in a small chest. Line 22. Inside was a leather journal and a folded note. Asterisk, line 23. The note read, "For Emily, some words are easier to write than to say." Line 24. The journal had sketches and words from Olivia. Line 25. Emily read of summers, Daniel, laughter, and quiet moments. Asterisk, line 26. One entry said, "Daniel loves me, but part of him will always carry a piece of her." Line 27. Emily closed the journal. Line 28. It wasn't pain. It was gentler. Asterisk, line 29. Outside. Rain began to fall, soft at first, then steady. Line 30. Emily lit the lantern and read for hours. Line 31. Memories of pancakes. Falling into the lake. Starlit nights. Asterisk line 32. Then, footsteps behind her. Line 33. Daniel stood with an umbrella. Line 34. Olivia told me you might come someday, he said softly. Asterisk line 35. Emily whispered. You knew about the journal. Asterisk line 36. He smiled. She wanted you to find peace. Line 37. They shared quiet moments. Line 38. Emily whispered, goodbye. Liv. Line 39. And she began the long drive home. Line 40. The next morning. Mist rose from the lake in silver ribbons. Asterisk line 41. Emily and Daniel shared a quiet breakfast on the porch. Asterisk line 42. Coffee, apples, and silence that didn't need filling. Asterisk line 43. When it was time to leave, Daniel said, keep the journal. It belongs with you. Asterisk line 44. Emily nodded. Tell her, thank you. For everything. Asterisk line 45. He smiled. I think she already knows. Line 46. Emily stood by the lake one last time. Line 47. The water reflected the sky perfectly. A mirror of calm. Asterisk line 48. She whispered, goodbye, Liv. Asterisk line 49. That night. Back in Boston, Emily placed the journal on her desk. Asterisk line 50. She opened the last blank page and began to write. Asterisk line 51. Love is not a single story. It's a collection of people, places, and moments. Asterisk line 52. Olivia taught me that love can be friendship. Daniel taught me that love can be letting go. Asterisk line 53. And Willow Lake taught me that sometimes coming back is the only way to move forward. Line 54. She closed the journal and smiled. Line 55. The lake, its peace, its lessons, its ghosts, now lived quietly inside her. CapCut tips for this script. 1. Copy 8 to 10 lines per batch and paste in TS. 2. Use soft, emotional medium speed voice. Asterisk 3. Include pauses naturally between lines for emotional flow. Asterisk 4. Merge generated audio clips in timeline. Perfect for 8 to 10 minute video narration. Part 5. The Return of Spring. This is the quiet, emotional ending where Emily finally finds peace, a new beginning, and a beautiful message about love, forgiveness, and life moving forward. 1 year later, spring came gently that year. In Boston, the snow melted slowly, and small green shoots began to push through the ground. Asterisk, the world seemed to be waking up again, not in a rush, but with quiet grace. Asterisk, Emily had moved into a new apartment near the harbor. It was small, sunlit, and filled with plants and books. Her desk sat by a wide window where the morning light poured in. On the windowsill, beside a small vase of fresh tulips, lay a familiar object, Olivia's journal, tied once more with the faded ribbon. Asterisk, it had been nearly a year since that rainy night at Willow Lake. Asterisk a year since she found the letter. Asterisk, a year since she and Daniel had said their quiet goodbye on the porch. Asterisk, sometimes she still dreamed of the lake, silver water, laughter on the wind. the sound of a brush against canvas. Asterisk, but now, those dreams no longer hurt asterisk. They simply reminded her that love leaves traces, gentle, enduring, impossible to erase. The writing life asterisk, Emily's life had changed in small, meaningful ways. Asterisk, she had published a series of essays about love and friendship, all inspired by the lessons from Willow Lake. Asterisk, readers had written to her, saying her words helped them heal from their own losses. One letter had stood out, greater than your story about love that doesn't last but still matters. It reminded me that some endings are beginnings in disguise. She had smiled when she read that, because that was exactly what she had come to believe. Asterisk, her editor at the magazine often joked that her writing had grown warmer. Asterisk, Emily would laugh softly and say, asterisk, greater than maybe I just stopped running from the past. And that was true, because every page she wrote now came not from longing, but from understanding. The stranger at the cafe scene. It was on a mild April afternoon that she met him. The man who would quietly, almost accidentally, become part of her story. Asterisk, Emily had gone to a small cafe by the harbor to write. The place was quiet, filled with the smell of roasted coffee and sea salt drifting through the open window. Asterisk. She was sketching notes for a new essay. Something about the way people returned to themselves when someone approached her table. Asterisk, excuse me, a voice said. Is this seat taken? She looked up. A man, maybe in his mid-30s, stood before her, tall, slightly disheveled, with paint smudges on his hands. Asterisk, greater than oh no. Please, Emily said. Asterisk, he smiled gratefully and sat down, placing a sketchbook on the table. Asterisk, a few minutes passed in comfortable silence. She returned to her writing. He began to draw. Asterisk, at one point, he looked at her page and said softly, asterisk, greater than you, write the way some people paint, like you're searching for light. She blinked in surprise. Greater than, and you draw like someone who's already found it. Asterisk, he laughed. A warm, unguarded sound. Asterisk, greater than I'm Ethan, he said, extending his paint-stained hand. Asterisk, Emily, she replied. Asterisk, it was an ordinary moment, but one that felt somehow significant. Like the first ripple in still water. Shared silences asterisk over the following weeks. They kept running into each other at the cafe, in the park, at the bookstore near her apartment. Asterisk, each time. The conversations grew a little longer. Asterisk, she learned that Ethan was an artist who worked with coastal landscapes. Asterisk, he'd grown up near the ocean, painting boats and skies, trying to capture the way light changes water. Asterisk, greater than water's alive, he said once. You never really paint the same wave twice. Asterisk, Emily had smiled, thinking of Willow Lake, how its water had also seemed alive, full of memory. Asterisk, they began meeting on purpose for coffee, for walks. Sometimes just to sit quietly by the harbor. Neither rushed anything. It wasn't a romance at first. It was something gentler, a shared understanding of quiet souls. Asterisk, and yet, over time, something bloomed between them. Asterisk, not like wildfire, but like spring itself, slowly, naturally, without asking for permission. The return to Willow Lake asterisk that June. Emily received an invitation. It was from Daniel. Greater than Willow Lake. June 10th, a small gathering. We're dedicating a garden in Olivia's name. Asterisk, it would mean a lot if you came. Her heart fluttered. Part of her hesitated. Was she ready to return? Asterisk, but when she looked at Olivia's journal, she felt a quiet pull, like the lake was calling her home once more. Asterisk, Ethan noticed her thoughtful silence and asked, Asterisk, where's Willow Lake? Asterisk. She told him everything about Olivia, Daniel, the wedding, and the journal. Asterisk, when she finished, he said simply, Asterisk, greater than then you should go. Sometimes, going back is the only way forward. Asterisk so. A week later, they drove north together. The same winding roads. The same forest paths. The same shimmering water waiting at the end. The Garden of Memory asterisk. The garden was small but beautiful. Wildflowers, lilies, and a white bench that faced the lake. Asterisk at its center stood a carved stone that read, In loving memory of Olivia Hart who saw beauty everywhere. Asterisk Daniel was there, along with a few old friends from the past. Asterisk when he saw Emily, he smiled softly and hugged her. I'm glad you came, he said. I wouldn't have missed it, she replied. They stood by the water as a light breeze rippled through the trees. Someone read a short poem, one Olivia had once written about love that changes shape but never disappears. Asterisk Emily's eyes filled with tears. But this time, they didn't fall, because this was not a moment of grief, it was peace. When the ceremony ended, Daniel handed her a small envelope. Asterisk greater than Olivia wanted you to have this. Too, he said. Asterisk, I found it while sorting her old sketchbooks. Inside was a watercolor painting the lake at sunset. In the corner, Olivia had written, asterisk, greater than for Emily, because some friendships never end. They just learn new ways to exist. Emily pressed it to her heart. Asterisk. Evening by the water asterisk later that evening, as the sun dipped low, Emily walked alone along the shore. Asterisk the light shimmered golden on the rippling surface, just as it had the day of the wedding. Asterisk, she sat on the same weathered dock where she and Olivia once sat as teenagers. Legs dangling above the water. Asterisk for a long time, she said nothing. Then softly, greater than you were right, Liv. Love doesn't end. It just changes form. Behind her, she heard footsteps. Ethan, he sat beside her without a word, their shoulders brushing lightly, asterisk, together. They watched the sun melt into the horizon. Asterisk, it's beautiful, he said quietly. She'd have loved this, Emily whispered. They sat there until the stars appeared, slow. One by one, reflected in the water like memories that refuse to fade. A new chapter asterisk when Emily returned to Boston. She began to write again, not essays this time, but a book. Asterisk she titled it, The Wedding by the Lake. Asterisk in its pages. She poured everything, the laughter, the heartbreak, the forgiveness, and the hope, asterisk, but more than anything, she wrote about Olivia, her warmth, her art, her belief that love was meant to be shared, even imperfectly. Asterisk, when the book was finally published, it touched countless readers. Asterisk people wrote to Emily saying they felt seen, comforted, understood. Asterisk one reviewer called it a love letter to friendship, memory, and the quiet grace of moving on. Asterisk Emily didn't seek fame, she just wanted the story to live. Like the lake itself, calm, endless, reflecting the world with honesty. The last letter asterisk, a few months later, on a bright spring morning. She received a packaged asterisk, no return address only. Her name written in a hand she almost recognized. Inside was a single folded letter. The handwriting was unmistakably Daniel's. Asterisk, Dear Emily. I wanted you to know that I read your book by the lake. It felt like Olivia was there, turning the pages beside me. Asterisk, she'd be proud of you, not because you wrote her story, but because you finally wrote your own. Asterisk, the lake feels different now. Lighter somehow. Asterisk, maybe that's what healing really is. When memory stops aching and starts glowing instead. Thank you for helping me remember her the way she deserves. Daniel asterisk Emily folded the letter gently and placed it inside the journal. Between Olivia's sketches and her own words, the lake within asterisk that evening. Emily walked to the harbor where the sea met the city. Asterisk. The air smelled faintly of salt and spring flowers. Ethan met her there. They didn't talk much. They didn't need to. Asterisk he took her hand, and together they watched the moon rise, round and golden, its reflection trembling on the water's surface. Emily smiled. Greater than you know. She said softly, the lake isn't just a place anymore. It's here. She touched her chest lightly. It's wherever there's love and peace and forgiveness. Ethan squeezed her hand. Greater than, then you'll never lose it. And she knew he was right. Asterisk. Epilogue. One final reflection asterisk years later. When Emily's book had found readers all over the world, she still kept the small watercolor by her bedside, Olivia's lake, glowing beneath a painted sun. Asterisk sometimes. She'd wake early and write a few lines before dawn. Greater than the lake remains. It lives in every heart that has ever loved. Asterisk every friendship that survived silence. Asterisk every goodbye that became a beginning. Her life wasn't perfect. No one's ever is. But it was full of laughter. Quiet mornings, shared cups of coffee, and the simple joy of being alive. Asterisk and every spring. She and Ethan would drive back to Willow Lake, not to mourn, but to celebrate. Asterisk, they'd sit by the water, let the wind carry the scent of pine, and watch the sunlight dance on the waves. Asterisk, Emily would whisper, just loud enough for the breeze to hear. Asterisk, thank you. Live, for everything. Asterisk, then she'd smile. Close her eyes, and feel the lake inside her heart, calm, endless, and beautifully alive.